they do something with Nia, so God help me.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Maybe next week or something like that, she'll try and throw her name in the hat. But whether it's a triple threat between those three or a fatal four-way by adding Nia, that could be really awesome.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed. So we move on from that to the segment with Seth Rollins where he talks about, rehabbing his leg, and then we go into Triple H, who basically, puts down Seth, but I think like 80% of this was all about, this should show you that we have, the most greatest, medical staff, and, they help with rehabs and blah, blah, blah. I felt like that was the major...
Well, they do.
I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, that's not the point you're trying to get across at this point. You're trying to get the fact that, you have a rivalry going here. It should just build up to that. It shouldn't be like, oh, look at us. Look at our medical staff. Look at this. Look at how awesome we are.
I think that's the genius of Hunter, though, because everyone's got this focus on Seth Rollins, and Triple H is like, no, I don't want to give him that attention. I'm going to put the focus on our doctors and our medical staff. And I think that's a genius move from Hunter. It's just like, classic heel, cerebral assassin, at his best, doing what he does. And I kind of got that feeling. I was like, okay, everyone's talking about Seth this, Seth that. And he's like, no, we're going to talk about our medical staff and our doctors and how good they are. Fuck Seth. We're going to talk about these guys. And I think that was for a reason. I hope it was for a reason, because if they just did that for no reason, like somebody should, holy shit, that was bright. Sorry. Some lightning just lit up our entire house. I forgot where I was going with that, but classic Triple H, I think.
I think there's something about Triple H being bright, which I will agree with you. I think that he does find a way to make anything just turn into gold and make it, his heel gimmick just so amazing. Going to be interesting to see how, again, they build this up going into WrestleMania, if they're going to have a match at Mania, or if...
So, when Seth Rollins first came back after his first knee injury, I want to say he said in a segment that he was rehabbing twice a day. Now, in this video package, I thought I heard the doctor say that Seth's rehabbing 3 times a day now for this knee injury.
Wow.
So, that to me really makes it sound like he wants to freaking get ready. Like, he does not want to miss this. He's rehabbing 3 times a day. I think they set up to a total of 7 hours a day.
Probably.
Wow. That's some crazy shit.
I mean, I know from experience, rehab is never that much fun, and trust me, it's not a walk in the park. But for Seth Rollins to do rehab 3 times a day, that shows again his determination to make it to WrestleMania. And I even made the comment. I said that Seth Rollins is one of those guys who I could see, just not decapitating, but amputating his leg, and just continue to wrestle. Right, yeah. No, trust me. I remember to correct myself this time, so we're not going to have a rehab of, what happened last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how it builds up. So main event matchup was Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho. Again, looking at this matchup from the outside, I'm just like, oh, it's going to be beautiful. I can't believe we're getting Joe and Jericho in the match. The ending at first kind of left my head scratching, but then I'm just like, I'm actually okay with it. I was honestly okay with the idea of him, just choking out Chris Jericho, and then once it reaches to a point where it's like a 7 count or something like that, Joe's just like, okay, get off me. I'm getting back in the ring. I'm going to win by a count out. Because I think to myself, I think Joe is smart enough as a heel to know that he couldn't beat Jericho because he knows the kind of veteran Jericho is. And he's a tough guy to really beat. That's the thing. So I think that I looked at it and I'm thinking it's a great heel move, but I don't know. Your thoughts on the finish of that match?
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you on that. I liked the submission on the outside. It almost made me think like Samoa Joe was like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother pinning you. I'm going to choke you out outside of the ring, counted out. So I like that. And I knew right away, I was like, okay, Samoa Joe's not done with him. Like, it's Samoa Joe. There's no way. And then, he gets in the ring, and then, bam, code breaker. Jericho loses the match, but gets the last laugh. I liked it. I liked it a lot. The only thing that sucks is we were just getting closer and closer to Chris Jericho leaving, which I'm assuming is going to be after WrestleMania because he's got that Fozzy tour coming up. Mm-hmm. And I think he already said he's coming back after the tour. I believe. I friggin' hope so. But I'm sad to see him go. That dude has had one hell of a run in this past year. I have enjoyed every second of it.
I agree, but I also think that with that being said, I think he definitely deserves the time off to work on his other projects with Fozzy or with whatever he's doing. I recently just watched an old episode of when he was doing like his whole I'm going to be the greatest actor of all time, But I'm Chris Jericho YouTube series. And I thought, man, I'd like to see more of those. Maybe he'll probably bring up something like that. That'd be pretty funny.
Well, guys like Chris Jericho, granted, I want to say this is the longest he has steadily been with the company since he left the very first time. I want to say this is like the longest consistent run he's had. I may be wrong, but just off the top of my head, I think it is.
No, you're probably right. I think you're right.
People consider him still a part-timer, and he is in a sense, but he's really not, because I remember there was a period of time where he was under contract, and he was wrestling live shows. He wasn't doing television shows, but he was putting over younger talent and helping them develop their skills, and he's like, I'll do it at the live shows. And I thought that was really cool. Like, I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be selfish. I want to help these guys. I thought the world of him for that. I'm like, wow, that is a really, really like admirable, cool thing to do. Especially like if I was one of those guys that got to work with him at the time, like I couldn't thank him enough if I was one of those guys, because that is a name like Chris Jericho saying, I don't want to be on TV. I want to help these guys develop their craft at live shows and stuff like that. Really cool thing to do, I think. Just tells you a lot about the person that Jericho is, and how he feels and loves the business. But yeah, again, I can't say enough. This last year has been friggin' great. He's not one of these part-timers that comes in for 6 months, just destroys everybody and leaves. No, he gets worked into the storylines. He has very pivotal parts to play, and Kevin Owens too. Those two this last year. I don't think Kevin Owens would be where he would be without Chris Jericho as well.
Yeah, I can agree with that, and I think to prove your point of Jericho putting over talent at live events, especially. I mean, you make a case of him and Shinsuke Nakamura overseas. There was even that Madison Square Garden event where he had a match with Kevin Owens, and it was still pretty good. And I'm thinking, if that match was good, you can only imagine what it's going to be like for these two when they lock horns at WrestleMania. It's going to be, that's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh man, that's going to be one of the matches.
Except for, I think everybody knows Jericho's going to lose.
Well, yeah, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how it does, and if he wins, he'll probably drop the title the following night. So I think it's going to be that way. So either way, I think we're going to come out winners. Before we get into the main segment that closed the show, one thing that actually I was very happy to see was that we finally, thank you Lord, we finally have Rick Rude, the Ravishing One, going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Thank you. It's about time. This guy, oh my gosh. I remember watching a YouTube video of this one guy who had hotel keys, and he's giving them out to all these girls, and one of the boyfriends got mad at him. I can only imagine, that kind of animosity that the guy got from all this stuff to what Rick Rude had to go through every single night when he was always, hitting on women, kissing women, and all the boyfriends are probably just saying, like, oh, this guy deserves to die. This guy deserves to just get, wrecked and blah, 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 blah. Where like, kayfabe was actually existent. So, geez Louise, finally get to see the Ravishing One, former Intercontinental Champion, former WCW Champion, inducted into the Hall of Fame. And you mentioned it. It's a stacked Hall of Fame this year. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I was very, very happy. I actually saw the report earlier on Facebook, that Bleacher Report. I believe they were the ones to break it, saying that Rick wrote it. Is he the final person?
I want to say yes, but I'm thinking
I think he is. But yeah, very long overdue in my opinion. I mean, that dude passed away a long time ago. I thought he would have been in way before now, but I'm super happy he is. I remember watching him growing up. I was a fan. Everyone hated him. I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome. And definitely stacked Hall of Fame. We got Kurt Angle, Teddy Long, DDP, Rick Rude,
Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Express, and Beth Phoenix. It's pretty stacked in my opinion.
Oh gosh, yeah. I was going to make the joke. I was going to say, was that kind of like your wedding night? Did you get like the robe and just start doing like the whole like Ravishing Rude hip twirl and everything like that? Oh man, that's gonna be my wedding night there. I don't care what anybody says. If I look cheesy, I do not care. It's like, hey, I'm paying tribute to the Ravishing One. Shut up. I don't care. So we go into the main event segment, which was Braun Strowman calling out Roman Reigns, but we get a surprise in The Undertaker making his return. The stare down between the Taker and Strowman was awesome. And then unfortunately, we had Roman Reigns come out, cut a promo saying, hey, Braun was calling me out. He wasn't calling you out. You have to remember now, this is my yard now, not yours. And you said it best. You said, after Undertaker grabs Roman, choke slams him, and I even matched your words to basically Undertaker's deal where he just like shrugs his coat. He's just like, yeah, whose yard is it now, bitch? Honest to God, it was awesome.
First of all, it was great. I had this feeling as Braun Strowman was yelling into the microphone as he does. My wife was laying on my lap, and I was just like, you watch, the lights are gonna go out. But it kind of, I don't know, somebody in the truck fucked up. I don't think this was supposed to happen, and I don't know if you caught this, but he calls out Roman Reigns. Like 1 second of Roman Reigns' song started to play. You hear the dirt, and then all of a sudden, like, you hear the bell start to ring, and I'm like, what the, like, oh shit, like, because I swear I heard Roman Reigns' theme song first, and I was like, oh, I guess Undertaker's not coming out, and then the lights go out, and you hear the bells. I was like, oh shit, he is coming out, like, yeah, just like 30 seconds before it happened, I looked at my wife, and I was like, the lights are gonna go out. She's like, what is it? You mean Taker's gonna come out? I'm like, yep. Taker comes out, and he squares off with Braun Strowman. The crowd loses their fucking mind. They were just, holy shit. And I think this is the very first time we've seen Braun Strowman back down out of fear. Because the look he gave The Undertaker, to me, like, that was fear. That wasn't, I'm going to do this on my own time. This was like, holy shit, you're The Undertaker. I'm going to get out of here now.
Thanks, but no thanks.
But yeah, and then, of course, Roman Reigns comes out, and the crowd's booing him like they usually do. And he gets to the ring and tells The Undertaker it's his yard now. I was like, woo, that was fighting words right there. And yeah, the little typical Undertaker when it's WrestleMania time doesn't say a damn word, just looks at you, looks up at the WrestleMania sign, and then you turn and look at it, and then boom, choke slam, and then just